Okay. Well, this is exciting. Welcome to the REDX Podcast. I've got Bill Pipes here in office so that we can chat about the greatest opportunity of 2025. That's what I think. So, Bill, why don't you at least introduce yourself? We've known each other almost 20 years now.
We were talking, I was like your second seminar, man. Yep. So, Bob Fitzgerald being your first. Dude, I've been in, this is 31 years now at this point that I've actually been in the game of real estate coaching and training. And it's hard to believe it's gone like that. I got my start with Mike Ferry years ago where we met. Yeah. Spent almost a decade with Mike. And, I really look back and I say that a majority of the fundamental components of business success that I learned came from that man. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'll still break out. I've got DVDs. I have to have a special DVD player to even be able to actually play the stuff, right? And but I'll still break out some old school Mike Ferry, right? Because it's evergreen. That information is. I jokingly say I got my MBA from Mike Ferry. I got my Master's in Business Association or Business Administration from Mike because he taught the fundamentals of business. It's passed down from Gunther and Mike Vance and Earl Nightingale and all these amazing individuals. After that, I had the chance to actually align with Gary Keller and Dinah Kokoska and did about a 4 or 5 year run with them and was like, at that time, I think there was like 6 or 7 Bold coaches. And so I got to do Bold, and which was fantastic to be able to actually spend some time with Gary, understand his mind, rip off and duplicate some of that thought process, layer that on top of what I learned from Mike. Yeah. And then about 2011 or 12, broke away from that and landed with Tom. With after Tom had broken away, had been separate from his dad for a bit, and helped with the help of all the staff and everyone else. We helped go from about 30-ish coaches to 174, and I had the privilege of running oversight on all the coaches. I was like the coaches trainer, right? And so I trained all the coaches and was responsible for their accountability. It was not in the corporate entity. I was an independent contractor, but came in and did all the work for training the coaches. And so after that, little stint with John Cheplack, which was amazing, gave me super exposure to some of the big teams and the big the problems that they face. And John said to me, Pipes, go do your own thing, man. Like it's time for you to go do your own thing, which I'll always be grateful for him. And I mean, and that, Curtis, that's one of the main things is I think gratitude is such a critical component to the most successful people that I know. And I look at the time with Mike, and I'm so grateful on many different levels, and the time with Diana and Tony DeCello and Gary, and I'm like filled with gratitude for that. And obviously Tom, and, every single one of them taught me something new. And I remember something that Mike said to me. He goes, you were smart enough to show up, be stupid enough to listen. Yeah. Right. And that's such a Mike, and that's just been a mantra for me as every single person that I've had as a partner or a mentor has taught me something that now I look back on and is a part of our entire system.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
And during that time, I actually had a real estate team here in Salt Lake City. Right. And I forgot. Oh, let me forget about that. And in 2011, I was coaching someone at KW. So it was 2011. I went with Tom in 2012. Wendy Lockhart, and I think in Tampa. And she came to a call and she said, hey, we're getting a lot of leads. She had a team of like 5 or 6, which at that time in 2011 was a big team. Yeah, big team. It was a big team. And I was thinking maybe she had like 50 or 60 leads, 70 leads that she's getting. And I was like, okay, well, how many leads are you getting? She's like 500 plus. I'm like, what? And that's where I got introduced to Greer Allen and Rivers and Boomtown.
Yeah, right.
And so she started telling me about it, and I got in communication with one of their salespeople and started talking to them. David Kim was his name. And I said, okay, I know agents hate to prospect. If I could just get a team together and have us scrub the leads, set them up, we'll take a percentage, then let's just run this experiment. So we, Utah at the time had one MLS all the way from Idaho down to Arizona. Right. So we partnered with John Ames we did it here in Utah. We did it up in Salt Lake, had a bunch of RMs, some wonderful return missionaries who just wanted to get home and get married. And
get on the phones and work hard. Get on
the phones, make money, get laid. So, so they can make money to get married and get laid. Right. That's sort of what it is. But man, some of the best salespeople like I've ever met. So we would scrub the leads here for our primary team in Salt Lake. They were primary team, but then we went, man, we could do this any place. And in Utah, so we went down to John Ames. We went up into Davis County, and then I went, this is working, right? And so we expanded over into Silicon Valley, partnered with Alex Lair, who is a Mike Ferry agent, right? And one referral commission. Basically what we're doing is we were doing Zillow Flex before Zillow was flexing.
Right.
And so we're taking 35%, and in Silicon Valley, 35% of their average sales price was the equivalent of one sell here in Salt Lake,
right.
Like an 800,000. I think the average sales price was 220, 230 at that time. And so then we just started duplicating that and doing sort of a McDonald's, and we did it partnered with Chris Heller and Monica Reynolds down in San Diego, Randy Kosich in Orange County, and Ty Leon Guerrera up in the East Bay of San Francisco. And we ran that model until Craigslist changed the game, and they got rid of the auto, like the auto posting and everything else.
Right.
And so at that point, I sold the team to Mark Robinson and Dave Ranginson, that are agents still up in Salt Lake City, and that was it, man. So yeah.
Well, it's a good segue into some of the things we want to chat about, which is what you just described is, I think, what every team leader is still trying to do. They're trying to allow people not to prospect. They're trying to crack the code on, this come list me type lead. Is that a fallacy? I mean, what is that? Does the technology and do the leads exist in a way that you could duplicate that model again in 2024?
So I'll share with you why we stopped, right? And I think it's the fundamental challenge that I see a lot of team leads have. The cost basis per lead, when we switched over to a paid, because we were running Zillow also, it was brand new at the time. And it was still a low cost basis. But when we were posting on Craigslist, I can have a team in the Philippines that were using logmein.com, and they would log in because we had to have the IP that was in the area, right? To be able to actually do the posting. When that ended, I looked at my margins and what it would cost for me to buy leads and to still run that, and it just did not make sense at that time. Yeah. And now, whether it be Flex or whether it be Realtor.com and OGO or any of those, it's expensive, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those leads. And I think this is really interesting, Curtis, because I really do believe in 2011, 12, 13, that transition over, because you and I grew up in, if you're not 75% a listing-based model in your business, Mike would say you're stupid. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then in 11, 12, 13, when Real Geeks, Boomtown, Sync, like all those first generations came out.
Tiger Leads and Zerpal and all of them.
Zerpal, Zerpal. Whoever came up with that name. It shifted agents over from being hunters to gatherers. Yeah. And I think it took away a lot of what the industry was founded on, which is if you're gonna generate a large amount of income, you have to go out and hunt, you have to prospect every single day. Right. And now it's not. And because of that, I've watched that discipline, that grit, that determination, that a lot of those, I don't want to sound like a grandfather back in my day, but that people they just had. Right. You know what I mean? And now it's a rare commodity to find that person that's willing. But that's why we founded our company, G3 or Coach Pipes, is, like, I believe not just my belief, what I have seen with data is the best businesses are prospecting based and they're marketing enhanced. Yeah. Right. So there's that discipline of 1, 2, or 3 hours a day that they're doing 5, 10, 15, 20 conversations. They're still role playing. The best teams are doing that. We just had, we run something called Monday Mayhem that we just got done with. And this time of the year, which is December, right? Agents it's invariable that they're going to lose their focus. So what we do is we run a 3-week stint where every Monday, everyone inside the ecosystem, all 465 and some from outside of our company, they've spent a full day every Monday during December prospecting for 5 hours. 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off, 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off, 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off in the morning, 3 rotations, lunch, and then 50-10, 50-10. I have a team that I coach, Michael Baird in Denver, Colorado, and they set 42 appointments the first week, 57 the second week, and they came at 40 something the last week. And I went in, I was there
How many agents are on the phone to set that many
They
appointments?
got about 20 something agents. So they're each setting 2 to 3 appointments a day, which is, any team
that's amazing.
Do a backflip.
Yeah.
But I went into their office, and you would love this. They start off in a circle. They throw a football around, right, to actually get everyone awake, right?
Yeah.
And then they break into pairs. They role play, and then they get on their phones. And then they put someone in the hot seat. 2 people get up in the front. They role play. The team critiques it. And then bang, everyone's on the phone for 2 hours. And there's a reason why they're doing that. He's up almost $1 million this year in terms of GCI, because they made those fun. They went back to the basics, dude. And I think one of the basics that we got to talk about is the return of expireds.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, yeah, I've got some, we're kind of data people here.
Yes. I love data. Data over drama, baby.
I know.
Yes,
so
always.
We did a project and we went back to, I wanted to quantify the opportunity coming up. And we know that January is the first week in January is the biggest time in a year of the year when properties go off market. When cancellation expires, totally. Withdrawn, right? Yeah. And so we went and looked at that for the first week of January of 2024.
Okay.
And here are the numbers. Between January 1st and the 7th of 2024, so almost a year ago, 129,686 properties came off the market.
Across the nation.
Yeah. Right? The percentage of those properties that relisted was 66,000.
Wow.
Almost 39,000 of them ended up selling.
Okay.
Right? For a total sales volume of $12 billion.
Oh my gosh, man.
Or $360 million in listing side commissions.
So much for the BS excuse. There are no more expireds.
right? So, and this year, you already said it, but the expireds prediction is actually predicting up the same, right? About 15%. So just 15%. We're looking at the first week in January as a $415 million commission pie, opportunity that you have an opportunity, but you have to go after. Here's some other cool things that we found. We found that listings that expired in that week, if you relisted with a new agent, you had a 38% increase in probability that your home would sell.
Really?
The second time around.
Well, because the first agent did everything. Look, agents aren't bad people, they're just not, they're doing, and I really do believe that people are doing the best they can in the moment with the skills and the tools that they have, but they exhausted all whatever strategies that they had got exhausted. And I think that's one of the objection handlers. Right. Like if we get into some role play, man, it's been a while, but I would love to. So let me find that's
this.
crazy. 38% increase in the chance.
And here's some other cool stats, and we don't need to focus too much on these. They're fascinating.
I love it.
Everybody looks at expireds too, and they go, oh, well, they just need to lower the price. But it was a higher probability of it selling if the price increased than if it decreased. So here was some of the things. If you listed with the same agent, and this is just of the pool of those 38,000 that ended up selling, the second time around, but with the same agent, the average days on market before it sold the second time around was 53.
Okay.
But the average, if you relisted with a new agent, whether increasing the price or decreasing, actually you had a higher probability of selling if the price went up, not down.
Really?
And that's because it's not, price is the most important factor, but it's pricing it right to the audience who's going to buy that home. It's not just the lowest price wins. But if you relisted with a new agent, the average days on market before it sold were only 21 days.
Wow. Versus 55.
Versus 53.
53.
Right?
Yeah.
So if agents understood this at a real level, if their property expired, they should have, if they understood the probabilities, they would be going to you as the expired listing and say, look, I did my best. I can't do it, but I've got a really great agent in my office that specializes in this price range. I'd like to introduce you to him.
Totally.
And you're making the referral fee you would make more money that way than you would trying to sell it on your own in the time frame that it has.
I love that, and I love that technique, right? And I look at where is the market going. You know, like I love Logan Motoshami and Mike Simonson, Altos and Housing Wire. I think they're brilliant, and we teach a style of selling that's called education-based data-driven selling. You'd love it because we believe the consumer. What I found is the consumer is much more informed than they've ever been with the access to information. The only challenge is some of the information is off. Right. And so now a great salesperson's job in real estate is to control the narrative with that client, to offset the false narrative of the sky is falling. 24% of all consumers believe the market's going to crash in 2025 to this day, right? So you've got, they're searching for information, like the consumer, the buyers and the sellers are searching for information, but they're getting it from YouTube, which is clickbaity, right? And, like YouTube's going to show like the people that are like, going to grab attention and so they can sell marketing ads, et cetera. But the point is, I hear that data. And if I'm a hunter and I'm calling an expired listing and they say, we're going to relist with the same agent. I'm like, Curtis, I can totally appreciate the fact that you were thinking about listing with the same agent. Can I share with you what makes me nervous about that? Sure. Well, did you realize that this is data that we have, that's a homeowner like yourself that relists with the same agent is going to sit on the market longer and is going to sell for 38%.
38% less probable that they will sell.
Probability, right? Don't you owe it to yourself to at least explore the options? Because all I want to do is get the appointment, right? And I'm going to use that data as an objection handler. I'm going to use that data on my presentation. I'm going to use that data. And I don't think a lot of agents do that.
No.
So.
Well, and or maybe you didn't, but we have all of that Altos research data inside of every single lead that we have inside the system. So every 7 days, all of that data updates so that you have all of that information to speak from a position of expertise,
the authority
in the zip code of the property that you're calling on. So we love data. We think that data is the best way to sell.
It's the best way to sell. And what it does is, like I said, data over drama. It removes the drama out of the situation. And, I discovered a long time ago, Ferry taught me this, the elder Ferry, Mike, a buyer's going to buy when a buyer's going to buy, a seller's going to sell when a seller's going to sell. There's not a lot you can do to change their mind. You just need to be the one that's in communication with them when they most likely are going to do it. And so how do you do that? You follow up effectively all the time. And I think a lot of agents that I've done at this point, 117 to 120,000 coaching sessions. Big sigh. The big sigh before that. And, that's 60,000-ish hours devoted to this. Right. And the thing that I truly notice with agents is they give their opinion over data. And because they give what appears to be their opinion, because they give their opinion, the client always pushes back because they go, of course, you're a salesperson, you're trying to get a commission, et cetera. So we love this style of selling. We think it's more elegant, aligns completely with what it is that you guys provide as well too. So
Now we're excited. I think, $400 million in commission. There was some interesting data also, because if people are hearing this and it's already the first week in January, what's really interesting is the properties that go off market the first week in January actually have a longer period of time before they choose a new agent than any other time of the year. And so you have time, to take advantage of this $400 million pool. But if you're not talking to them, if you're not reaching out to them, if you're not, the marketing support, if you're not doing something to build a brand and reputation with those expired listings so that they know who you are and that you exist. So that when you call or you knock on the door or you send a postcard, it's you're leaving a lot of that $400 million on the table. So,
well, and when you look at follow-up, because it's 6 to 14 follow-up conversations before you get the appointment on average, right? And it depends, and that variance is dependent upon skill, right? Like your skill basis that you actually have. As long as you're you're educating that client every time, right? Then they'll still answer the phone, right? It's when you stop bringing value to that lead that they're gonna start ghosting you. Because I always get that, like, oh, this lead started ghosting me, and I'm like,
you stop bringing value.
You stop bringing value. Right. So I hammer everyone, bro, that we coach. they have to start their day off with 10 to 15 minutes worth of research, right? And there's so many reliable sources that you can go to, like you guys, obviously, number one, Housing Wire Daily, Altos, and a majority of this is free. Dave Childress and Keeping Current Matters. Like there's Mortgage News Daily, Barry Habib for mortgages as well too.
I haven't heard Barry Habib.
Dude, he's still around. He's still around.
I did some conferences with Barry Habib a long time ago.
But and so you cannot educate someone if you're not educated.
Right.
It's such a critical piece that, and so what happens, this is an interesting quote, that when two people meet, the one that has the most certainty is going to have the greater influence over the other person, right? And so
say that again.
When two people meet, the one that has the most certainty will have the greater influence over the other person. So when you look at, okay, I'm a buyer, I'm buying a house. Well, I'm going to do a boatload of research. And I'm going to be watching on the market. I'm going to be doing everything. Now, whether that information I'm getting is accurate or inaccurate it matters, but it doesn't matter to me because I think it's accurate. But if I'm an agent and I'm not doing more research on both the national and local market, then what happens is you have the client that has more influence over the agent because they are more certain. And the agent has not done what they need to do to be able to offset that and flip the narrative over time with them. So,
we start these conversations, then I go, now I know why Joe Rogan goes like 3 hours sometimes, because I just want to unpack this uncertainty thing.
Yeah.
So just for a second, we don't need to focus on this long, but as the coach, when I hear that, I see that, and that resonates true. But I also see agents who are trying to mimic certainty, and it comes across as arrogance because all they're doing is they're trying to be really confident in their opinion.
Yeah.
So is that just a matter of education, or is that a skill?
No, it's an intent.
Okay.
Right? Like it's an intent, because you can absolutely have all the data and be an asshole. Like it's really, if your intent is off. So I got the chance to actually spend time with, what's the guy's name from Never Split the Difference?
Chris.
Chris Voss.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. I had a 53-year-old moment right there.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. But everybody should read that book
5 times.
Yes,
you should read that book 5 freaking times, once a year. Like
that helped me be a way better parent with my children, even.
Totally. Well, so look at, here, for those of you that don't know, Chris Voss is the #1 FBI negotiator. Had about 19 different negotiations. That may not sound like a lot in a career, but when you're taking into account that these negotiations are, we got 25 hostages, they're in the bank, we're going to kill them if you don't do this. Like that's, I'll take 19 of those and I'm good. Never lost one of them. Right.
Yeah.
And when I was with Tom, we had him speak multiple times for us. So I got the chance to spend some time with him in the back. And I asked him, I said, Chris, like, what was your #1 tool that you use with negotiating? Now, this is going to answer the question that you have of how you take data and don't be positional.
Right.
He said, the #1 tool, and this shocked me, that I use when it comes to negotiating is tactical empathy. And I said, okay, what is that? He said, you look at a couple of questions. What do I like about this person? What do I appreciate about them? How are we similar? What is their problem and how can I solve it? Right? What do I like about this person? What do I appreciate about them? What is their problem and how can I solve it? He said he would approach every single negotiation from that where he's finding common ground to be able to work from. And it changes, dude, where focus goes, energy flows always. Right. And so, you can feel a salesperson in any field that they've got commission breath or they're just focused. You just feel it, right? Yeah. And before they even open up their mouth, right? Or that they're judging or whatever. And why is that? It's because their intent is off. So if I take data and then I layer on top of that this tactical empathy where I'm calling a lead and I'm thinking, phone's ringing, what do I like about them? Well, I really like the fact that they're actually looking to buy a house in the next 90 days. That's exciting. What do I appreciate about them? I appreciate the fact that they answered my phone call the last 2 times. Right. What's their problem? How are we similar? Well, you know what? I know that neighborhood that they're looking to buy in. I had some interest in that neighborhood once upon a time. Wow. Okay, cool. And I helped 4 people there. So we got some similarities. What's their problem and how can I solve? Automatically what happens is your intent changes.
Right.
And the data doesn't come across as something to bludgeon them with. It comes across as something to support and assist them with. And so it removes that righteousness from it. Right. So,
well, it puts the focus on them. Yeah. Right. Which totally. Is, goes back.
My daughter and I, she came in, my daughter said the most beautiful thing to me in the world this last week, was it last weekend? 2 weekends ago. She said, Dad, and she's 16 years old, right? Do you want to watch Star Wars with me? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah. like Star Wars? She goes, yeah, but we need to start at the first one, the old one from like the 1970s. I'm like, oh, right? I was so stoked. Yeah. And so we sat there and we watched A New Hope. If you go to Star Wars geeks out there, hi Star Wars geeks, man. So the Force is the Force. Right. It's the intent behind it that actually determines whether it's the dark side or the light side. Data is data. Right. It's your intent behind it that either becomes a wonderful tool that you can actually have people feel some certainty and put their mind at ease, or it can be something that you use to force and manipulate people to do things. Right. It's your intent that determines exactly how it comes across. Yeah. So
I love that. Okay. So certainty, you have data. We certainly do that. We even encourage all of our employees to read a few of the blogs that you even mentioned on a daily basis. And I say this, and I don't mean it to be offensive to a lot of listeners and agents, but I tell employees on day one, if you do this for 30 days, read these blogs. It will take you 5 to 7 minutes a day. In 30 days, you'll know more about what's going on in real estate than 90% of the real 100%. Estate agents in the market.
And that's sad.
It is sad.
Yeah, it's not sad. It's disappointing. Right? It's disappointing because it's so. When you, and here's the other piece to great influence, is positioning yourself with what's called an AS, your authority score. Yeah. Right. Like all people have an authority score. Unfortunately, real estate agents have, historically a low authority score with the public. Understandably so, because barrier of entry to get your license is very low. Right. Accountability is almost non-existent. You have to, almost kill someone to get kicked out of a brokerage in many cases. You know what I mean? So, but, like if you know something and you're studying it, you want to talk about it. Right. If you know something and at your core, your tone is different. You speak from a different standpoint, and people will listen to you a little bit more. You're more excited. You're more energetic. And I look for dominoes, man. Like, what's the domino that can have an impact on everything? And that 10 to 15 minutes that you're talking about, good on you guys for doing that. That 10 to 15 minutes becomes a game changer, because you have something to talk about at every single call. Right. Your scripts and dialogues become more effective, right? Your conversations become more impactful, and your tone changes, and your authority goes up, and your certainty increases at that point, man. It's just so simple. So simple.
So we have a customer down in Vegas, Paula Burleson. Maybe you know Paula down there in Vegas. She's a heavy prospector. She's been a customer of ours forever. And we've interviewed her many times just because of her success in prospecting. Yeah. And I don't know that I'm going to go back to her with the tactical empathy, because her script, especially on expired, is as soon as somebody says, "You're the 10th agent that's called me this morning," she says, "Well, then let me be the first to say I'm sorry."
Nice.
And they go, "What? Yeah, I'm sorry you got bugged." Yeah. Right. And then all of a sudden they don't know what to do. And then just, you go into your script.
Yeah. It's a great little pattern.
But even that tactical empathy of me going, how would I feel? Yeah, I'd be bugged too. If I got 15, 20, 30 phone calls in a morning, I'd be bugged too.
Where the hell were these agents where my house was on the market?
But through that intent, you turn it to, but I'm here to help you, because you obviously want your home sold, and it didn't happen. Totally. So let's talk about that. Right?
I was speaking at a guy by the name of Sam Chawan, throw something called Mindset Summit. I was down in Houston just a couple of weeks ago. Really great lineup of, just amazing people.
He coaches poker players, doesn't he?
He coaches poker players.
Oh, yeah.
He was the poker player coach.
Yeah.
Right? Just an amazing event in Houston. And I got to interview an agent from Houston named Chris Sears. And, like a lot of these interviews, it goes different route than what you talk in the back. Like we had a conversation. He goes, ask me these questions, ask me this question, ask this question. And I got the chance to interview him. And so we prospecting came up, and I always like to ask the question, did you or do you prospect? And he said, my entire career I have. And that's the thing that I notice is, I was talking to someone today about this on a webinar. I said, listen, every person that you see that's massively successful, they did not get there unless they were spending time in outreach and talking to people, right? And whether it's an hour or 2 hours, I don't know any of them. I've assisted at this point. We got 42, 43, 44, 45. We're on agent number 45 that's gone over the $1 million mark or added $1 million. Every one of them
prospect
was a prospector. And so anyway, Chris, the conversation came up, and I said to him, he started talking about his approach to prospecting is he starts with gratitude. He says, I'm really grateful that I get paid to talk to people. This is an agent selling 400, 500 homes a year.
Yeah.
Or at that time, he now has his own brokerage and everything else. And he's like, I'm grateful that they answer the phone. Wow, they answer the phone. Grateful. He's like, he just approaches it. And you start to notice success leaves clues. And, there's individuals that they're hardcore Grant Cardone, edgy closers, but, they leave a trail of bodies behind them and they get the deal on the front end and they never get a deal again from that client. But like the ones that have longevity and really like produce great results with low output are the ones that have that empathy, that have that gratitude. And it sounds counterintuitive because you think with expireds, you got to be edgy and you got to freaking push them. But the more you push sometimes, then the more they push back.
Yeah.
So.
No, I see that with the gratitude and it's, so many books have been written in the last 5-6 years where now the science of that is coming through, right? Totally. The science of gratitude and where your focus is and how that changes and how that resonates with people beyond the script, right? Yeah. So I think that's right. Let's shift for just a second and talk about what should agents be doing. We've established through real data that there's $400 million up for grabs in the first week.
So good.
First week of January. Now what?
You're not going to like the first answer I'm going to give you. I promise you. New Year's Eve, don't be a dumbass. Don't get super drunk. Recognize nobody else is going to be calling on January the 1st. My major expired prospectors start calling expireds at about 1 o'clock on January 1st. Right? Why? Nobody else is.
Yeah.
Okay? And so they start there and they get first run at it. They don't do it first thing in the morning because knows what happened the night before. You never know what's going on. Right? So you give them a little bit of time, right? And that's number one.
Yeah.
Then here's the other key too. Get yourself a reliable data source where you can get the numbers, where you can use the numbers, where the numbers are vetted, where you're safe with the numbers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like where all the things that are important about being a prospector in 2025, right, are critical.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Like, do not call list scrubbed, all this other stuff that is absolutely imperative that you need to do. Then I would block out, I would have those first 2 weeks. I would block out an easy hour every single morning, hitting them first thing in the morning. Whatever script it is you're going to use, mine, you can find it at coachpipes.com or Tom's or Mike's or it doesn't matter. Just find one, right? Like honestly. And then if you don't get a hold of them on day number 1, give them on day number, like hit the dial, hit it on day number 2. You can't get a hold of them on day number 2. Like you continue through that.
Right.
I think that's number 1, right? You got to have that discipline. I teach that there's three circles that actually determine success for a real estate agent. Number 1 is your skills. Number 2 is your standards, which are your disciplines, rituals, and routines. And number 3 are your strategies. So I think that's number 1 is just to have at least in your schedule it blocked out. This is my expire time. Number 2, I would. And this is a new answer for me from 5 years ago based upon the importance of video and people really searching and looking. I would do a series of videos that I could either send out to the expired or would be on my YouTube or would be in my social media feed, preferably on YouTube. So I can send them, hey, check out the link. I work with a lot of expireds. If you have, then it would actually be answering the most fundamental questions that expireds have, right? Which is, I'm thinking about listing with the same agent again.
Yeah.
Right. We're just going to take it off the market. We're going to sell it ourselves. Why are all these agents calling me, and where were they when my house was on the market?
I'm going to wait till spring.
Yeah. I'm going to wait till the springtime. I'll wait till rates come down. If we know the consumer is going to be researching information about neighborhoods and markets and everything else, we've also got to assume that they're going to, if they're thinking about going relisting, like you said, I think it's 55. What was it? 50%.
53 day. Well, 51% relisted.
51%.
Yeah.
relisted.
And if you're that's of all cancel, withdrawn, expired. If you just look at expireds, it's closer to 70% will relist.
Yeah.
And half of those people with a new agent.
Yeah.
Right. So
that I would get as much content out as possible, right? That really addresses the major objections and the concerns, so that either A, I can repurpose that and send it to them, or B, if I know that they're researching me, they're going to see that.
Yeah.
Right? I would also utilize, if I have sold any homes that have expired, I would go stand in front of it. And whether it's selfie video or someone else, hey, this home was previously listed with another company. It was on the market for X number of days. When we listed it, here's what we did. Little case study. We did 1, 2, and 3, A, B, and C, and it sold in X number of days for Y number price, right? And so start to build that social proof as well too. And if you don't have if you've never done any expireds, right? And start talking about some of the homes that you've actually had great success with.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So.
Well, what's crazy is social proof, case studies, showing people what their life would be like after your product or service is fundamental to marketing. Totally. But somehow we've missed it. So if exactly what you said, if you could get the homeowner that you sold their home, if you could which you should be in contact with, I sure hope you are, because an expired that you got their home sold becomes one of your best referring people fan. In your,
should be a raving fan.
As soon as they get on camera and say, I got like 30 phone calls from real estate agents, and I was pretty frustrated after my home expired, and then sits there and like pours their soul out about why you are the best agent to get the home done, it's game over.
I love
that. And so what we're helping, just to add to what you're doing, what for the shameless plug that this is, but our ad builder allows you to take those videos and target the expired listings through Instagram and Facebook. And so you could take those on there. Something that we learned, just a little tangent here for those videos, in a lot of the research we did with expired homeowners, one of the primary emotions that they're feeling is embarrassment. We often jump to the frustration, like the last guy couldn't do it, and I'm sure you want to move forward. But in our research, a lot of those homeowners are embarrassed. They've said goodbye to everybody in their neighborhood. They've been talking about moving. Their kids have all told their friends they're moving. Here it is 6 months later, and the sign's coming out of the lawn. And so once you determine what they were trying to accomplish, you got to recognize that embarrassment. So when you're making those videos, coming from a tactical empathy position of understanding that they're not just frustrated, that they're embarrassed. That they are still in the home after they have done all the preparation to leave.
I'm breaking up with my spouse and we're still together now at this point. Okay, here we are still again. And
if you could tap into that emotion in your scripts or in your videos, then it's great. Do you know we also have a role play system?
Really?
So agents can call in and select the lead type they want to practice. And this is because if they don't have a team, we believe that role playing is so critical. To getting on the phone with success. They can call in. It'll ask them what lead type do you want to prospect. They'll say expireds. They'll say how difficult do you want this to be.
So you can toggle how tough it is. Oh, wow.
And so now I'm going to give away the secret is every role play ends in a successful appointment set because we don't practice to lose. We practice to win.
Good for you guys.
But the difficult ones, it's the level of how many objections that you're going to have to overcome.
How many times do I need to close on this one?
That's right. Yeah. And this is with live people. It's not an AI bot. This is live humans. They'll role play. They're not coaches. They'll give you some obvious advice like, hey, maybe try to use my name every once in a while, or some basic advice. But more than anything, then you hit a button on your phone and it sends you the recording of your role play. Right. So then you can give that it's very valuable listening to yourself. Yeah. It's even more valuable to send it to a coach or trainer
and say, can you unpack this for me? You know, there's a guy by the name of Butch Harmon, and Butch Harmon was Tiger Woods' coach. He was his swing coach, right? Back when Tiger was winning, right? And getting a chance to talk to Butch, question came up like, what has been? I'm not a golfer, but I want to find out like what causes big breakthroughs inside of an industry or golf or whatever. I said, what's been the biggest breakthrough that's happened in golf? And he's like, that's really easy. And I was thinking it was going to be like the balata ball or the graphite head or something along those lines. He said, it was the video camera. He said, because I go, really? You know, and I wasn't putting two and two together at the time because you're expecting one thing and I get that. I'm like, that's a little curveball. He said, because you can tell someone over and over again, you're lifting your head, or, you know, you aren't rotating your hips or whatever it is that's on the swing. He said, but when someone sees it, i.e. when you can hear the roll, take the time to listen to your own calls or your role play, then you have this awareness, and awareness, Curtis, is the number one step to transformation. Until you are aware of something, you're probably not going to have power over to transform it. Yeah. So it's so great that you guys do that.
And that at least gets people in the mindset so that they can put into practice exactly what you said, you know, and to go after the $400 million opportunity that's there.
$400 million, dude.
And that's listing commission, right? I mean, when you follow the tree of how much of the sales volume in a year comes from starts with this first week in January, because those people end up buying and those people end up referring. And if you could follow that tree, the percentage of all the commissions that will be earned in 2025, a huge percentage of those are going to come from this group of expired, canceled, withdrawn listings that come in the first week of January.
I love the stories that agents have, which is there are no more expireds. You know what I mean? I'm like, here's data over drama. We make up stories that don't exist, and then we live our lives as if they're true. I've noticed this too, and this is whether it's expireds or whatever it is that you're going to do. That's why we push so hard on Monday Mayhem, like 3 weeks in a row, every Monday. 5 hours. Like they ended to yesterday was the end. And I used to run it for 4 weeks, but 4 weeks was way too long. I'm like, okay.
150 appointments for that one team.
And we got individuals that are like, 2 appointments set in the month, 5 appointments set for the month. But here's what I've noticed is this is why it's so important that this time, like during the holidays time, and whenever it is that someone's going to be watching this, that you maintain some momentum through the holidays, because you have a rolling start. Because if you have a good January, right, and because the work that you did in December, right, your confidence goes up, the action activity that you want to take increases, and then you may position yourself high probability to having a good first quarter. And if you have what I've noticed is agents that have a good first quarter, I'm going to bet on them for the year. Yeah. I'm going to bet on them for the year. There's a good chance that their year is going to be a breakthrough year. But most agents, and we all know that, and they don't really even come out of the cocoon of the holidays till about the 15th. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then get things rolling, et cetera. So it's like to be able to actually have those first 2 weeks or more where you're like, I've never called expireds. And I will tell you this. It's going to take you, correct me if I'm wrong, 50 conversations before you really get your groove.
Yeah, we usually say 500 dials, which is 500,
35, 35, 40. That's 35, 40 conversations. So right about the same, right? And when you hit that mark, then all of a sudden you start to figure some stuff out. You're like, oh, okay, I need to have this objection. I need to be able to handle I'm listing with the same agent. I probably need 2 different ways to handle that, right? Yeah. And then if you're part of an ecosystem like you guys or us, that where other people are doing it as well too, and you can bounce ideas off, you can truncate that growth curve. Right. And if you have a coach that's done it, then at that point, it's it's a complete collapse of the runway time that it takes you to get up and operational. But you got to come out strong at the beginning of the year, and this is such a great way to be able to do it. So,
well, we're doing the craziest end of year promotion we've ever done.
What are you guys doing?
So we're looking at this day and we're going, okay, how do we make it a no-brainer?
Yeah.
We put together a bundle with everything we've got, right? All the different lead types, the premium data, the Altos data that's embedded in there, the ad builder information, the video templates, everything we've got to be able to empower them to go after this group of people. And we took it down from $800 and whatever a month it is all the way down to $299.
Oh my God, that's a no-brainer.
So $299, no contracts either. Like, go hit the ground running. And so, we're going to give that link for anybody who's associated with you. We'll put it in the comments of the podcast here.
Yeah, I'll send that out.
And
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
There's so many providers or multiples. There's a couple big ones. I absolutely love you guys, right? I've known you since, maybe not since 2003, 2004. I've been around this company with Mike and Jason, who they were original founders.
Yeah, Mark and Jason.
Mark and Jason. And I remember them. I remember them at a superstar retreat with Mike Ferry, man. So, what's the big DOS, degree of separation, of you guys against everybody else?
I have more than one.
No,
I think what aligns, and I told you the first time I heard you say this, I'm going to steal that, is we believe that in prospecting, but we believe if it's marketing supported, the results that you're going to get through prospecting are the best. We used to be able to, everybody says their numbers are the best.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of people that switch from other companies that say our numbers are the best. And I have a lot of companies that say, the numbers were better in my area somewhere else. Data is becoming commoditized.
Totally.
And so if there's not a lot of differentiation between the data quality, then you have to look at, well, what is my experience? Our dialer that we have aligned with is much different than most dialers. The connection rates are much higher. So it's not just data quality, but connection rates. So your number of conversations per dial is going to be a lot higher with what we're doing. But more importantly, the platform is a prospecting platform. We're not a data company that gives you phone numbers for expires. We do that. We do that very, very well. We're not just a dialer company that you put data into. We do that and we do it very, very well. But we're a prospecting platform that allows you to do the social media prospecting, allows you to do the postcard things, because all of those things are going to help you build a brand and reputation so that when you do pick up the phone or you do knock on a door, that there's going to be brand recognition and it's going to increase your conversion and get you to the result that you're looking for.
It's not just there's a lot of companies out there that are just like dialer numbers, right? Dialer numbers. But like this is an integrated system where I now have the marketing that backs it. And I think that's so important. I mean, dude, we grew up in Mike Ferry,
right.
Which was pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
Never talked about marketing as he's marketing, by the way, as he's marketing. And, but like, I love, like, you've got the package for social media, all this other stuff, and it makes it turnkey for somebody to be able to actually, to get in front of them. So
the system is turnkey.
Yeah.
As much as a really good gym facility is turnkey.
But you got to show up.
But you got to show up.
You got to show up.
So I don't. I want people to have realistic, because I don't have contracts. I want people to understand you're not going to lose weight if you don't work out in the gym. Like you're not going to get commissions if you don't do something with what we have.
Yeah.
But all of the systems are outlined in such a strategic way to allow you the most efficient, easiest way to get in front of these people and start having conversations with the highest intent leads. And what I love right now, and a lot of conversations, AI, we didn't even touch on, which I'm happy about. But all of these lead companies are touting their AI and predictive models. The challenge is you can't predict better than 70% of a list of expires are going to list.
Wow.
40, it depends on what study you read, 40 to 80% of for sale by owners are going to list.
Yeah.
We do know that 40% of vacant rentals, people advertising for a vacancy, will end up listing their home for sale.
Really?
So 40% of for rent by owners, what we call those, not being managed by your property management. Foreclosures is a high. There's no predictive model out there that is going to predict higher intent sellers than the leads of what REDX has.
Yeah.
And so, but now you got to do something.
You've got to be consistent.
Yep.
You got to make the calls. You got to build your skills. and you got to execute on the right strategy, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and you guys do provide the strategy, right? Like that's the really cool thing. You know, it's, I was listening to Logan and I was DMing back and forth with him, Logan Motoshami, and they're projecting a pretty substantial Housing Wire and Altos, substantial increase in inventory next year. So, and Altos was back, or Simonson, Mike Simonson with Altos was backing that up as well too. My mind, I'm telling you, I was so excited we're coming in to do this podcast because my mind was like, oh, damn, Gina, here comes some expireds, right? Because agents have not had to list homes and price them effectively in a long time because the market saved their booty, man. And now the tide's out. The tide is out. And there's a bunch of people with their pants down. And that I look at that and I go, oh, brother, sister, there's a lot of great expireds coming, you know, and even if you just get your start in January, cut your teeth on that, continue through it, you're going to continue to see, because inventory is incredible. We're at 2019 levels for inventory right now, and it's only going to increase. There's going to be more and more expires, more and more canceled, more and more withdrawals, right? And that the individuals that are like now prepping and getting ready, and if you haven't done it, like, it's the perfect time, you know, like, and if there's some people that have done it and fallen off, get back on it because it's coming, man. That wave is coming. That market's not going to be good enough that we're not going to see an increase in the number of expires. Well, in my opinion, I may be wrong.
We're predicting much more expires, and our prediction model kind of looks at all kinds of things, including interest rates and days on market and things. So we're primed for many more expired listings than we had this year, and we're excited because expireds hasn't been the focus of what we're talking about. We have all the our geo leads and our, neighborhood searches and there's a smaller niche of agents that want to go after a more aggressive hunting, technique with expires. So I'm excited. I think there's a tremendous amount of money. Bill, thank you so much for being here. I want to know, how can people get in touch with you? How do they find you and get involved with your community?
CoachPipes.com or G3Nation.com. Either one of those two. G3 Nation is a community, subscription community that we actually have. We knew in 2023 when we launched, right? Like, because I broke away from CHEP at that time. We knew where the market was going, and we said, "Hey, you know what? We want to provide something for the real estate landscape and the agents that's a minimal investment and gives them an opportunity to be able, like, we do a morning huddle every single morning for like 30 minutes. We have a weekly camp. We got to have you on the campfire, man. I love it. Like, I'd love to get you on the campfire, a Tuesday campfire. So we got that, and Coach Pipes will tell you about what we do from a coaching standpoint. I mean, when I built this, I was very clear. The only coaches I was going to bring on were ones that were 7-figure earners, because our vision, we believe that every single agent should be, if you're a full-time agent, there's no reason for you not to be earning 7 figures, selling 55, 60, 65, 70 homes, right? And doing it elegantly and doing it predictably and duplicatable. So that's our vision, man.
I love it.
So if that's something you're interested in, like I said, we're going to be 40, we were 43. At 3, we're like 45, 46, and there's 2 more that are right on the cusp. I had to, my coaching client this morning he's like, 4 deals fell out. I'm like, where are you? He goes, I'm 985. I go buy a house yourself, dude. Go buy a house. Don't let this not be your year. So, but yeah, man, that's the game that we're up to. That's what we love to play. And we love to play it with people that are, that are like, have that warrior mentality, man.
Yeah.
So
love it. Well, I appreciate it. I think we should do this many more times.
Dude, we got to do the prospecting school here. I'm salivating at that opportunity because no one's really doing it that much anymore. So people fly in and prospect, have the coaches here, listen to them, and get insights. I appreciate you having me in, brother. Like, I'm really grateful after all these years. I mean, you and I have been around each other forever, to watch the evolution. And this is really what's exciting about companies and entrepreneurship, is to watch an evolution of a company that was basically, we'll get you expired numbers. Yeah. You know what I mean? About the same time that Brent was doing his FSBO stuff. Brent Warnock, that's a long time ago. To watch the evolution of what you guys have done, to be able to serve the agents better, man, good on you guys.
Thank you.
Good on you guys. So I appreciate it.
Thanks. Hey, everybody. Thanks for attending. Bill Pipes, thank you so much for being here. We're here every Thursday at 1 p.m. So we'll see you next week.
Peace.